Hi everyone, my name is Sagar Kakkala, and today we are here for AWS session, not AWS session exactly. We will be having session on AI and ML, and as a part of it, we would be covering AWS SageMaker. And before that, few of my friends were here. They'll be here for few minutes, and I just wanted to give an insights about recent thing that happened. I think 2 months ago, I actually got lost my job. It was a layoff, and because of that I had to go through the job process. And before I was advising on how to get the job, to text HRs, or be it applying through company portals, and a lot of times I did not get responses. But recently I changed the ways, and it actually helped me getting a lot better responses. Maybe I'll share screen of things that I followed. It could help, because a lot of you guys were complaining that you're not getting calls even though when you're applying jobs. Maybe this could actually make sense and could actually help. Yeah, I'll share my screen. Yes, maybe let me show you. First thing I followed is the before thing itself, to text the HRs directly. As I said, the talent acquisitions. A lot of times I did not get responses, but a lot of times I got responses. Let's say the way I texted HRs is with a simple format. So with his name, so I said I'm looking forward for next career challenges, and these are I could find my CV here, and whatever company he is, I went there, and these are the positions which are open in his company, and he is a HR there. And based on that, I got the response. I even got a meeting scheduled for it. A lot of times I got the response this way. I got the first call scheduled, and sometimes I did not get it. And when I was talking few HRs, I came to know that now a lot of HRs now use AI tools for job search. Let's say, and the way they do it is they keep a description at one side of the place, and another side they keep the, let's say, your resumes, between thousands or 2000s of resumes, and they compare both of them, and whatever is actually matching their scores, may it maybe more than 50 or something, or 65, only then your resume gets into place. Else, even though no matter what your technical expertise is, you would still be lagging behind itself. So so this is where I told a lot of you to tailor resumes. So whatever is in the description, have the same but in resumes as well. Because as I was going through job search, manually tailoring through each job description is too hard. So that's where I actually found an AI tool called Let Me Apply. Maybe before that I could actually show you proofs itself. Maybe like as the HR agreed the same way, even some companies, they openly agreed that they were using AI, because a lot of companies actually use this. As you could see, we may use artificial intelligence to support tools for hiring process. I have noticed this in a lot of job applications when I was going through, because before, without using AI, I was actually applying, and I was getting automatic rejections because the description did not match, and I was using common resume. And what I did, I actually, one second. Yeah, I used this tool called Let Me Apply. So this, okay, I had to authenticate on web. This actually gives three resumes for free, and you could upload as many resumes as you like here. If you're trying to apply through multiple roles, you could actually do that. But since DevOps gives you a liberty to apply through senior infrastructure roles, SRE roles, platform engineer roles, and even administrator roles. Maybe let me go for SRE platform DevOps. Okay, this is senior DevOps engineer, GK and automation. Okay, I applied to this. So I'll see if I promptly health. I was looking for something. Yeah, fine. So here it actually automatically took promptly health. As you could see from the job description, sometimes it will not take the job descriptions at that time. Let's say now I went to Act Digital, it's not taking. And for that, like what I used to do is like copy the whole description and click on enter manually and enter the job description. Like it will take care of things automatically if it will not be able to detect. So now it's able to detect this. I'm actually giving this as, let's say, Taylor resume. No, actually took its subscription. It's around like I think for 70. Yeah. Now as you could see, match score is 66. So if I just give like apply changes, it takes it to 93. And you should also take care. Sometimes it actually gives it like something like doesn't even know, because like it matches the job description. It doesn't matches the knowledge of which you have actually. So for suppose I had never worked on like Kibana or this ELK stack, though I heard of it, kind of things. It'll for sure like put somewhere a point where I had like worked on Kibana, but I would say like this is still fine. Like once you get into like resume, like once you get into the first call, like before that, prepare your resume thoroughly. That's what I would suggest. Like instead of so once this is done, I'm just giving like download resume, and even here like you'll get the formats to choose, more like ATS friendly resumes. So I'm choosing this. So just now promptly health, and now I think it's okay. I changed my download path. But till here it's clear, right? So this is the way I'm applying. I'm getting calls these days compared to before. So this is all the language I had to provide, and I could still do it. Yes. So yeah, I'll be stopping the job search here, and I will go for like AWS uh, SageMaker session. Till here, is it clear for everyone? Yes, I would just click to see if you guys could unmute and see. I have one question.
Uh,
Do please unmute and speak, please, because I cannot.
yeah, hi Sagar. So I just want to know the LinkedIn jobs you are referring and you are asking for the referral. So most of cases, LinkedIn opening it will be not the same, and it will be not the original one which it will be available in the company's portal. Most of time, what they said, they directly say, don't refer the LinkedIn openings.
You could actually use the same tool for Naukri for any other job portals as well. So that
Mhm.
does not matter. But here, like in Portugal, for us, like LinkedIn is the major source of job tool.
Okay,
I was going only through LinkedIn because we don't have other portals like Naukri or Indeed here. It's only LinkedIn, like HRs and everyone get connected through.
okay,
And sometimes, as you said, like sometimes they keep the job portals open. Let's say if I'm actually a consultancy company, and sometimes I keep a job role which is actually not available, just to have a hiring process, just to see what the market demands and like how much salary would I give, and also to attract clients, that even though like there are layoffs and recessions, I'm still getting, like I'm still hiring people. So that's a kind of tricks which they use, but you cannot rely on everything. Your job is only to go for it. That's it. If you didn't get the job, like apply 10 jobs, apply 100
yeah,
jobs. That's you just
correct.
increase the probability. But
Yeah,
as I said, like the way it's getting filtered is now using AI. That's it. I just want to show you that.
yeah, it will help a lot.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, because like tailoring resumes manually before I told to, but it's actually difficult to tailor each resume based on the time constraints I had. So it's better to use AI tool to counter AI itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's correct.
Yes.
Absolutely, it's correct because it takes we have to manually enter the job searching keywords, and it was very difficult. I also did multiple times, but it takes lots of time. But it will help. It will easily. It will change within second. It will make everything ready. It
Yes.
is good. Yeah. Thanks.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thanks everyone. Now we will get into like AWS SageMaker session. And maybe okay, I should show, sorry, I stopped sharing my screen. So before we get into AWS SageMaker session, like this session would be uploaded in YouTube. And since like think and since my YouTube content is like bit of diversified content, like it has like finance and everything, though I separated into like other YouTube channel that I was using for personal, and some of the old parts are still there. All you have to do is like search for Sagar Kakkala, and you have my LinkedIn, YouTube, Udemy. Okay, sorry. Uh, and in YouTube, like everything is separated by playlists. And don't worry, now the new videos won't be anything personal, or it gets into another YouTube channel which I'm using for personal. It's called Saga Class Vlog. So this video would be uploaded in like AOps with MLOps, Saga Kala English. You don't have to like watch it in order. Like this is something like completely free from a different videos. This is what do you say? I don't know. Fine. And also in the blog, everything is separated by contents of blog. Since I have not added it yet, you'll be getting this as like day 11, AOps and MLOps and AWS SageMaker. Maybe let's get into the session. Like, why do you use AWS SageMaker? But before we know like why are we using AWS SageMaker, let's understand an important use case that where SageMaker could help. It could help at lot of cases. Maybe let's say if I'm actually getting into like a new city or something, what I would do is, let's say if I'm actually shifting to Italy, or let's say like in India, I'm shifting to Hyderabad, Mumbai, or anywhere apart from my hometown. So what I will do is, like if I'm getting a new job there, what could be the average rent there? For me to stay, or average like costs of the city, expenses of the city, and I'll make the calculations. And what I would do is like I'll search some websites like No Broker or Google or anything. This is similar kind of like website where let's say if I'm actually going to Italy, let's say I'm going to Rome, Italy, and I'm staying for 27, 6 months. Instead of home, I just want to a room. I would say like 450 would my starting price. I'm actually seeing. Okay, there are rooms available for 400 euros, 300 euros, 300 euros, and 390 euros. And also, like, I would be checking the amenities as well. Like what could be the amenities? Like it has like four bedrooms and one bathroom, which I would not prefer because so it's like that. I'll okay check. Okay, if it is like a shared bathroom, I would have to pay like 390 euros. Kind of, I'll avoid this. So I'll check like what could be the private washroom cost, and based on that, I'll make the calculations. So this is similar way. Like let's say if you are running this kind of website, how could this AWS SageMaker work is like for you to attract users. So let's say, and like this is actually a platform, this Spacist is actually a platform where even owners could apply their homes as a listings, and even tenants could book a room. It's just a single platform that provides. And if I'm actually a user and I'm actually using Spacist instead of manually searching this, so what I would do if I would have an option in any website, let's say any website where I would say like this is the room, this is the area I'm getting into, and like these are the facilities I want. I want a private bathroom, I want furnishing, I want this, or I want a balcony. So everything based on that, if I had an options and if I give a predict, and if I get an option like let's say the rent could be around like 400 euros or 500 euros, it will make my calculations easier. And if the website owner, it will also like attract huge customer base to my website because I'm actually providing which nobody provides. This is like one such case of like let's say SageMaker, where using the previous data you'd actually forecast like predict the new data that could happen. Maybe we'll understand this better like with an example when we get into this notebook instance. And also this is the same example that I gave, like as we are uh, India, let's say like if it is like Hyderabad, you would say like around 10,000 INR. In Bangalore, if it is city center, it's 13,000. In Vizag, if it is city center or the main areas, it's around like 8,000 ANR. Because these are the rough estimates are based on like what I know or what I heard. Because the previous data I know, I would give an average estimate if somebody asks me. So it's the same way AWS SageMaker as well works. You had to feed it the previous data for it to forecast the future data. Because it's just like three cities were able to say, what if it is like India wide, like your website has like an India wide information and worldwide information. So it's like you cannot actually go through everything. So we need some AI or some machine learning models there. So to read the data and to understand data, analyze data, and predict data. And the way AWS SageMaker works is as simple as that. It takes the data, trains the data, makes a model out of it, and deploys the model for it. Maybe we'll understand this better, like when we get into demo. Let's get into demo for to understand better. Like the first thing, as you know, you need to have AWS console. I'm not going through this like AWS. Oh, search for AWS SageMaker AI. SageMaker AI is available in almost all regions, but if you're someone want to go for like AWS SageMaker itself, you need to make sure that you're actually doing in these available regions itself. Because yesterday I was doing in North California when I went into AWS SageMaker instead of AWS SageMaker AI. So it said it's not available in region. If you're using AWS SageMaker, you would actually use any of these areas specified following. Okay. So once you get into like SageMaker AI, you would observe like notebooks here. Notebooks are nothing but our Jupyter notebook. Click on like create new notebook instance and something like rental demo or something like whatever your name is. And this platform identifier is like underlying, let's say underlying OS, just because like before I had installed Jupyter Notebook in this session and this Jupyter Notebook is installed inside my MacBook. So that MacBook is something you could think of platform identifier, the base where it runs. So same way, and also this is a demo project. Change it to like T2 medium. You don't need higher instances for it, and you could actually leave the role as it is, or you could create a new role. And here is where how AWS SageMaker works is it takes data from AWS S3 bucket, like trains it and redeploys into S3 bucket. The AWS SageMaker has an option to create its own S3 buckets because of the role we attached. But let's say if you have a data already existing, you could create specific S3 bucket and give that bucket name here to support that and create notebook instance. And once you create it, like it'll take a lot of time to not a lot of time, minimum like 2 to 3 minutes. So that is why I had turned up the instance before itself. It'll just like open the network like this. And now if I click on open Jupyter, hmm, let me get the blog here. Okay. So these are the same steps I kept in screenshots. As I was telling, like because this role, like which we had default used, it has options for S3 bucket to delete, create, and everything. So you could leave everything as default. Yes, and one more thing, like once you click on here, new, go for Conda Python 3, and it will create untitled play. Because the problem is like once you click on it, it will open in second tab, and the more you have like untitled, like it'll create the confusion. So it's better you rename it every time. Let's say, If you guys had any doubt in between, please just unmute and ask. This is the same thing. Yeah. And now let's say select conda by Tandra as a kernel. And this is where actually you copy paste. And here what I'm doing, I'm importing pandas as PD. I'm generating a random data. And this random data is like where I'm taking five houses in city center. Maybe I'll just show. And to run actually a Jupyter cell, if you're using Jupyter Notebook for first cell, like this is the play. Like if it gets into next cell, it means like your code executed perfectly. And if it is not getting into next cell, it means there was an error. So as you could see, I generated a data. In this generated, I took like five buildings. You could leave zero as index one. So five buildings, and I said if it is like square feet, like in the same area, if it is square feet like 450, and if it has like one bedroom, one bathroom, furnished, yes, bills included, yes, balcony, no balcony, and metro to distance, it's like 200 meters, and monthly rent is 1100 euros or something. Same way, 600. So I took a random data for it to train. In reality, you would train with a lot of huge data actually, because let's say even one city, you have a lot of areas and like a lot of amenities. So, and also distance to metro is always calculated. So one part, and like once we generated data, we'd actually save it as a CSV file. Index false is nothing but like these first four areas like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are not necessary. These are just Excel columns. So we are not saving index columns. So once we had generated like CSV, you could see your CSV file here. I think it has not come yet. Okay, it's getting slower. Okay, yeah, CSV file. Hmm. Yes. Now the part comes where we are actually having a CSV file, like we are importing SageMaker, and we're actually like creating our own bucket here, own S3 bucket. If you have the S3 bucket already, you could skip this step. You don't need to create a bucket. Okay, these are the warnings you could ignore. So this is the S3 bucket that I got. This is a bucket like which is recently created. If I go for let's say S3. Hmm. No, it's today, August 1st, right? Yeah. So this is the bucket that got recently created in US East one. So I'm in US East one, Mount Virginia. So it creates bucket automatically. So we got the S3 bucket ready. And why we are using S3 bucket here is because S3 bucket like has a facility to save the huge data or any type of data. Be it like you could save images, you could save videos, or you could save like Excels or anything. And also it's expandable. Let's say you could increase the data size itself, because if you store it in your Mac or it's your local, the memory gets increased, and there would be a time where the resource is not enough, and like if the memory issue is like too large, it could get hanged. So that's why S3 gives a facility. It's like an expandable memory. So based on that, you would be incurring costs as well. So that's another part. So once it's done, now let's say this is where like I'm uploading this to the newly created S3 bucket. So now the S3 bucket name is like US East one. Here it is, run demo city center. You could also check it in this. Okay, the rent demo and everything. I think this is the previous model, I guess. Oh, 18, 19. Okay, oh, fine. What is this? US East one? 627000924. Okay. Hmm, yes. Now let's get into this. Okay. Okay, I think like because I took a bit of time there. It's better you guys could leave this link. I'll share a new link because like this ends in 10 minutes and it'll create a disturbance, a kind of time tense. Is it fine? Because like this is where like the important part comes. You learn like how machine learning works and how difference between X and Y and difference between like how ML engineers do the training here, predicts the errors and everything. I'll share a new link. I want you guys to leave this link. So till here we actually had scikit-learn. Scikit-learn is actually an ML model, like which would help us in um, training our model. Let's say like it has all the libraries required to train our model. So I'm just installing scikit module now. Scikit-learn. And there is one more thing that we had to take care here. Our machine learning model does not understand words. Here in programming language, we would call words as strings. So this doesn't consider strings because like city center is a string and here yes is a string, no is a string. The rest are numbers. We need to convert these strings into integers so that integer are nothing but numbers so that like our machine learning model understands it easily. And because we had this like scikit-learn module now, we would use the same module to convert our strings into integers, let's say. And for that, okay, I'm just going to copy here. Yeah. And now, as you see from scikit-learn preprocessing, we are importing a label encoder. And here in this label encoder, we are actually converting area string into like transform. We're actually encoding it. Let's say like how this happens is if you have city center, it default takes the value of city center as 0. And if you have like city outskirts, like any other value in area apart from city center, it takes the value as 1. If it is like suburban area, it takes the value as like 2. So like for different values, it assigns like different numbers in the area. And here, as you could see, here in furnished bills included balcony, the values are same. It is yes and no. So we will be using these values like we will take furnished A like yes as 1 and no as 0. So we would be transforming that as well. So till here our encoding was done. Like we had what do you say? We have transformed our string into integer using this. And here x and y axis, here x is nothing but the questions like which we input as a users. Let's say like if bills included, let's say if a user want to predict a rent would be the answer based on a user inputs. So here everything apart from monthly rent would be users input. Only monthly rent would be the value which would be given to the user. So we are actually taking all the values except monthly rent in x-axis. X is nothing but user input or questions you could think of. So we are dropping monthly rent and taking every value apart from monthly rent. Y would be the answer. So in Y we are actually taking monthly rent here as like answer as we want this value to be predicted. And here we're actually dividing this data, like splitting this data into train and test values. As you could see, X train, X test, Y train, Y test. So how this happens is, let's say our model out of all these four values takes like four out of all these values takes, let's suppose like the first three values, maybe like from here to here. It takes these values, like trains these values, and it will actually like do not take the value of 3, like it will actually try to predict the value of 3 based on the data of all these three values. It will actually try to predict the actual rent that could go for 850 square feet. So so it will compare the actual rent and it will actually try to get the predicted rent, and based on that it will train the model, like it will try to reduce as much error as possible. Like it will check, okay, the actual rent is 750, but I predicted something like 3000. So this is wrong. So it will try to make the calculations again. And the actual rent is like 750 and the predicted rent is around like 2000. It's somewhat near. So it will stop training there. Till here, the training occurs. So till it gets to the nearest close value, so we will still train the model. Like this would like split the data to help us train our model. And now, let's say this is like random forest regression. Random forest regression is nothing but instead of asking like just one friend or one person, like what could be the value of your rent at Hyderabad at particular area, we are going to ask like 10 friends or 15 friends or maybe 20 or 100 friends, and based on all the values or all the answers you get, we will take average out of it. Well, let's say like one guy was saying it would be around 3,000, one is saying 4,000, one 6,000, 5,000, 4,000, 7,000. So we'll take an average of 4,000. So that's how random forest regression work. It'll actually like get maximum values and try to take average out of it. So that's how we train this model. Yeah. The training was successful now. And now let's say once the training is successful, we'll actually try predicting like if it is working or not. And here predict x test is like the x values, because we had split the data here already. There are like tests we are going to do, and we are going to actually predict the data. We still don't know like what value it actually took into test. So we're actually trying to predict the value because it has trained for other four values, but it doesn't know this value. So it predicted around 1381.5. If we check back the data, let's say 1381.5, yeah, this like so this value now we understood like 600 square feet went as test value, and like 1300 is actual rent, 1381.5 is the predicted rent, which is actually a minimal like 80 rupees difference. And because it is rents, like we could still further go in our model like to deploy it, but like in some cases we would be checking the absolute error, like how much did the like model make an error in like predicting value, let's say. So it's 81.5 because the actual rent is 1300, but it predicted 1381.5, so the difference is 81.5. Mean absolute error could not only be addition, it could also be a subtraction of the amount. Maybe like it could also predict 1381.5 or 1218.5. And because it's like minor, around like 100 INR difference, we could still deploy this model because this is rental models. A difference of 100 rupees is still fine. But what if this is like aerodynamics or somewhere the precision values are very much needed? You cannot accept an error of 81.5. You for sure like you had to reduce this error. And how would you reduce this error? By giving our model more data for it to train. A more data like is equal to more training. If it has like more data, like it will understand it easily, and it'll have to like it'll make less errors because this is a demo, like we are actually taking just less values here and we're accepting this value. But if there is a time like where the precision is needed, you'll actually give it train your model with more data. Since this is a rental model, we decided the error is still fine. Let us proceed in deploying this model. We're actually dumping this model. We're naming it this like rent model.pkl. Here pkl is something like a Python library package. And now, so our model is ready. As you could see, this is our model, rental model.pkl. So it's now ready. And now how would we use this model? Okay, like before we use this model, let us upload this model into our S3 bucket. So now it actually uploaded in this S3 bucket. And whenever you want to use this model, we could import the model from S3 bucket. It is like you designed a model, you stored it in S3 bucket. You could like bring it back from S3 bucket and use it whenever you want. And like once you like you want to use this model, we'll use it in this way. Let's say, let us give a random values. We're importing job library and we're importing this model model.pkl, and we're actually giving it a new data to predict. Like before, we actually gave a test data. In test data, it actually took 600 square feet. Here in this new data, we're actually giving square feet as 750, and here area is 0. 0 is nothing but city center. As we said, like we transformed the data, the value at the beginning, it takes city center as 0, and yes as 1, no as 0 here. So we are saying bedrooms 2, bathrooms 2, furnished yes, bills included here. One is yes, balcony it's yes, distance to metro is something around 300 meters. We're asking it to print predictions. So it's like it said it would be around like 1602 rupees. So 1602 rupees for 750 square feet, and 750 square feet is between like 700 and 850. So the rent must be around 1450 to 1750 according to a normal calculation. So it calculated it this way. And if you're confused about like area city center is zero, balcony is yes, bathrooms still included, you could just give a manual mapping here. In this manual mapping, let's say area is city center, we're mapping it to zero, and yes and no map, no is zero, yes is one. So this is how we could actually do this. It's the same thing. It's just like for us to have a clear understanding. That's it. So it predicted the same. So this is how you'll actually train the data, predict the data, check the errors, deploy the model, and use the ML model. Till here it's clear, right?
Yes.
Yes. Now actually we'll also try to use AWS SageMaker. This is something we did manually. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use train.py. This is something I would not suggest anyone to use because this incur costs. I just wanted to show the other way how AWS SageMaker makes a difference compared to few other tools like MLflow and things that exist in the market. Okay, my bad. One second. Arre, I'm trying to rename. So I'm naming it as Python file. Here in this Python file, I'm actually importing this code. This is the same code that we had used till now, like where we actually generated data, read the data from here, transferred the data, and then like monthly training data, like using random forest regressor, and then dumping model. It's the same. And here only these things are SageMaker environment variables that are added here, which I will tell later on why it's added. So once this is added, what we'll do, we'll also use a SageMaker columns. Okay, I should save this file. I forgot. Save Python file. So I'm getting an S3 path from here. I'm actually creating a new, let's say, okay, okay, I can change it from here. It's better. Mm. So I'm actually getting an S3 path now. Yeah, we got the S3 path where our file is, and then we're also getting the role, like which role we had used for AWS SageMaker. If you know these details or these buckets, you don't need to print. You could just give the role directly here. Like if the role name is this, you could give it directly. And S3 bucket name is this, you could give that as well directly instead of getting variables. And here is where we're actually saying it to use this. Let's say if we are asking SageMaker, like we're importing scikit-learn, the same thing, and we're telling it like we started a SageMaker session, and we're telling it this is the role for it to use. This is the role for it to use, and then the entry point is train.py. This is the one, and framework. Okay, and here like Python version is Py3, and instance type is M1 M large, and estimator fit and train the model. Here, even though I run because I don't have resource quota, it will fail. So it's still fine for me because I don't have resource quota, it failed. And if you run this SageMaker in a place like where SageMaker is not accessible, at the starting in the region, it will say like the SageMaker is not available and it fails. Now what it does is a simple thing. Maybe I'll say draw.io. And now what our SageMaker does is, hmm, let's say our SageMaker works as instance, like it will turn up an instance, maybe like M1, M2, M3, M5, or anything. Let's say maybe like, let's take this. Okay. It will turn up an instance, like it will start an instance, it will train this data. It will train this data, and once it trains, It'll do, yeah, it'll upload our model into S3 bucket. It'll upload our model into S3 bucket. And once it uploads the model, since the work is done, it'll terminate this instance. Okay, it'll terminate the instance. And why SageMaker is important is like instead of having a complete files, let's say like every time you wanted to actually have a data or something, let's say using the same CSV file, if someone like if you want like your business is in Chennai and you wanted to like go it into like Delhi, so what you'll do like you will use the same CSV file, let's say you would use the same CSV file, like you would update the additional data. And once CSV file is done, you don't need to write the code again. You just need to execute this playbook and like which takes the data from train.py, and this train.py gets into your CSV file. So it will train the CSV file again, and once the CSV file is there, it will repeat the process. It will turn up a new instance. It will turn up a new instance, it will train the data, and it will upload the new model to S3 bucket. Same way, like it will get, this model is actually in. So your CSV file is in S3 bucket, right? The same way. So every time you update your data in S3 bucket, it takes this data, like turns up an instance. Instance is nothing, this like an EC2 instance thing, and deploys the model back into S3 bucket, terminates the instance. Like this SageMaker is helpful when you're having a dynamic data, like your data is completely loading, be it like let's say if you're working on something like stock markets or something, the data changes every day, and you need your model to be trained as fast as possible, as dynamically as possible, and that is where SageMaker comes in place. Yeah, till here it's clear, right?
Yes.
Okay, we can conclude the session.